Thinking about supernatural mysteries, I remember watching and reading Goosebumps as a kid, and then growing up watching Ghostbusters and The Shining. Stories with the ability to draw you into a world on the periphery of life and death, but there's a limit to how involved you can feel, however good the movie or book. That's where Ghost Town comes in. You're put in the shoes of a medium to witness the deathly chill in the air with your own eyes, a spooky artistic immersion that can't be replicated outside of virtual reality without spending millions on physical sets. Ghost Town is a story-rich puzzle game from the developers of the renowned puzzle series The Room, but now the developers have chosen to combine their puzzle design expertise with a deeply immersive world and intimate story with inventive gameplay. So let's find out if Ghost Town manages to fulfill its spooky aims, or if it doesn't quite come to fruition. But first, if you enjoy this review of the PlayStation VR2 version of Ghost Town, please like and subscribe. Set in 1983, Ghost Town has you play as Edith Penrose, an Irish witch living in London. She runs a small occult business from her tower block apartment, exorcising the lingering spirits that haunt the city. But when her brother goes missing, she is sent on a hunt to uncover what happened to him, running into demonic forces and cults along the way. In less than 5 minutes, development studio Fireproof Games establishes Ghost Town's grounded supernatural tone through a skillful use of environmental storytelling and brother and sister banter that really sells the scenario of two siblings together on a ghost hunt. With virtual reality, it's even more important to hit the ground running and totally immerse a player in the world, which is especially difficult when building a new intellectual property from scratch. Being a story-centric puzzle game, Fireproof have intentionally designed Ghost Town's fundamentals to all function with the purpose of telling Edith's story, to immerse the player into a universe of warlocks and spells. The core gameplay loop is built up of story sections, light linear exploration, and puzzles that build in complexity as you progress through the game, but at its heart, everything helps embellish the story. When you first embody Edith on the ghost hunt with her brother, in a dark, dilapidated theatre, Fireproof wastes no time showcasing the tightly paced and well-written naturalistic dialogue between the siblings, immersing the player at the centre of their plight to exorcise a ghost that's haunting the theatre stage, smartly characterising the brother to set up the story about to unfold. It's in the theatre where you first control Edith, hovering her sigil-tattooed hands with nails painted black in front of your face. It's clear from the beginning that Fireproof made a decision to keep the controls simple, approachable and intuitive. A tap of the X button to interact, the circle button to open the inventory, and the R1 underside trigger to grab hold of your flashlight from the inventory, or to hold mission critical objects. This intuitive approachability extends to every facet of Ghost Town. Similarly to the Room series, which aims to challenge but ultimately see players succeed, Ghost Town includes a variety of puzzle types, from lever-operated machinery that opens new paths, light-based puzzles, well-thought-out and reality-bending puzzle boxes, to multi-step escape room-style levels and more. While some may say that Ghost Town's puzzles are too easy, and I did find them somewhat frictionless, I also thought they were logical and made you spend just enough time to solve them, to keep the game and narrative moving forward. Although, if you do find a particular puzzle challenging, Ghost Town doesn't block your progress or include any fail states. Simply open the inventory menu to find two pullable tabs on the bottom. The one on the right reminds you of your current objective, whilst the one on the left is Ghost Town's handy hint system. When you can't progress, you pull down the tab and you are presented with a vague hint to push you towards a solution without giving it away. But if you're still stuck, Fireproof will keep giving you more hints until they finally give you the solution. Like everything else in Ghost Town, it's a smart and well thought out system that encourages players to try the puzzle first by including a timer between hints. Despite not finding the puzzles challenging, I do believe they take enough time to figure out, which gives players a constant dopamine hit that makes you feel smart and keeps you progressing through the evolving environment and story. Having already released on other virtual reality platforms, PlayStation VR2 fans have been eagerly anticipating Ghost Town's arrival, so it's important to consider what features the game uses. Ultimately, this is one of the few areas of disappointment. The lack of noticeable headset haptics and adaptive triggers is surprising, as it could have easily furthered the immersion, like gentle vibrations as smoke rises past your face when you heat up a vial, or adaptive triggers to increase the tension when trying to force a solution in a puzzle box. Despite this, I love the interactivity and attention to detail Fireproof put into every puzzle. One such example is when you're encouraged to use both hands, one to turn a reality-altering globe, whilst the other delves inside and tinkers with another section of the fancy puzzle box. These phenomenal interactive moments showcase Fireproof Games' years of virtual reality and puzzle design know-how. However, exploration and puzzles aren't the only form of gameplay in Ghost Town. As a medium, Edith must exorcise the spirits who have refused to pass on, and Fireproof puts you in full control of her day job. Throughout the game, Edith will meet spirits at places where she can move them on from the living world. In these moments, you stand behind a plinth and place your hand down to begin a ritual. Here, Edith presents meaningful relics from the ghost's past, so they confront what's preventing them from moving on. These exorcism scenes are incredibly atmospheric, with ghosts drenched in stylized lighting and particle effects. But once you set one of the ghost relics down, a glowing orb of light will appear and signify the start of the exorcism spell. By holding the grip button and pointing your virtual fingers over the first orb, you follow the track of light to the next orb, and so on, until the penultimate orb extends backwards, readying you for a forward thrust into the final orb. This propels the spell into the ghost. Although these are linear sequences, I found the added variety and only deepened Ghost Town's gameplay experience. Like many titles on the PlayStation VR2 before it, Ghost Town can be played seated or standing, and has a suite of comfort and accessibility options. So if you're easily nauseated, you can set up the perfect mix of teleportation movement with vignetted incremental snap rotations. Personally, I use a seated option due to personal needs, but I have played VR for years now, and I am acclimatized to smooth walking, but only if the game is optimized. Fortunately, Ghost Town has a silky smooth performance and a good image quality. Fireproof Games confirmed to me that Ghost Town is reprojected to 120 frames per second from 60 frames per second, which was nicely implemented throughout. However, there is some jagged aliasing, which I didn't expect to see as much on the PlayStation 5 Pro, but generally, the image quality is some of the best I've seen in VR, especially when you account for the level of detail on display. Even if Ghost Town wasn't a VR game, I'd be singing the praises of the visuals. The inclusion of lots of little details in levels such as Edith's apartment add personality and depth to the world. Even simple letters from the council pinned on the wall characterises her, her relationships, and how she lives her life. With a sharp image, detailed textures, particles and a clever use of reflections and lighting, it was hard not to be impressed. Another standout location is an NPC's Museum of Occultist Antiques and Oddities. Each of these demonic relics has a well-written flavour text on a plaque that explains a greater world of demonic beings beyond Edith's mission. Some are even embellished by research notes handwritten by the collection's owner, but the best part of this level is how interactive it is. Some ignite, teleport, or even paint. It's a lovely lore-filled breather from the main story, but it does highlight one of Ghost Town's biggest flaws, the lack of interactable objects outside of the key items and puzzles. To see such detailed environments with books, pens, cups, all in VR, naturally makes you want to try to pick them up, and when you can't, it's always a little immersion breaking. But then, you can interact with random things like the apartment fridge and freezer doors. That being said, I fully understand there are budgetary and time limitations that are better put elsewhere, rather than into a mechanic that would be used for a few seconds in passing, and respect their decision to focus on the puzzles and narrative. This brings me to Ghost Town's story, a supernatural adventure with light horror, where witches and the occult are part of the very fabric of the world. Written by Cara Ellison and Mark Hamilton. Both the screenplay and plot are well researched and expertly written. The script does an excellent job of developing and showcasing the relationships between the small cast, from Edith and her brother to Edith and her friend Rena. Even though the mystery is quite straightforward, it's very entertaining. The thematic overtones of familial bonds, responsibilities and family approval immerses us in Edith's personality and helps us to understand her motives and decisions. For someone connected to the dead, she feels duty-bound to help them, and her family are her links to also remember her duty to help the living. But for me, it's the many lore pieces in Ghost Town that make it so immersive. I adored Fireproof Games' narrative design choices to skillfully use environmental storytelling in most levels via collectible magazines and letters. I know from my own experience writing these types of expositional pieces just how impactful a few paragraphs in an optional letter can be, adding texture to what would otherwise be a blander scene. This is especially true in virtual reality, when you have the physical ability to lean in and sneak a look at the protagonist's wider life outside of the main plot. Over the 4 to 5 hour runtime, Ghost Town's pace felt perfect for the story they wanted to tell. I was engrossed in Fireproof Games' latest unique creation from the start, a uniquely grounded supernatural game set against the backdrop of discontent from Thatcher's Britain, where mediums and the occult have played a vital role in the world's conflicts, such as World War II. As masters of the straight puzzle genre, I'm glad Fireproof Games took a chance on making the more narrative-focused Ghost Town. It demonstrates their prowess in making even more ambitious and bigger projects, showcasing their talents of balancing approachable puzzle design, and now, a clear understanding of how to create engrossing narratives, and how to build interesting worlds. It's not an exaggeration to say that Fireproof would have already done plenty at this point to deliver a great story, but they didn't stop there. Not satisfied, they included fully mocapped cutscenes. The lifelike animation work is showcased whenever there's an NPC on screen, whether one of the main cast or a wandering ghost. All of these story-propelling cutscenes feel like watching a kind of theatre production performed just for you. Perfectly acted sequences that allow you to spectate but not interact with the characters. As a consequence, you often find yourself blocked off from getting close to the characters speaking to you, such as furniture in the apartment acting as a wall to prevent you from interfering with the story sequence. But then, certain parts require your input, like following your friend Rena's instructions as you operate a joystick on a computer. Although, said joystick was an odd one, as you hold the stick and instinctively try to move your hand to control it, when instead the developers have decided to use the actual control stick to move between selectable options. But minor quibbles aside, I really enjoyed these cutscenes. They might not work for everyone, but they work for me. But these story moments wouldn't be as richly told without impressive voice acting. Edith is given a layered and nuanced performance by Jacqueline Milne, who slips between banter-like camaraderie with friends to portraying deep anxieties and a strength to help those she loves. Some of my favourite scenes were between Rena and Edith, a lovely dynamic that contrasts Rena's excitability with Edith's driven nature to do what's right. However, it'd be a disservice to Fireproof if I didn't highlight how the entire experience is elevated by finely tuned spatial audio. The audio design is a standout. It isn't just additive, it delivers perfectly timed tonal shifts. One moment Edith can be solving a puzzle to the backdrop of gentle ambient noise, to then venture into a spooky corridor where the game switches to a haunting soundscape. Often minimalist to let the horror creep in, letting your imagination take over. While Ghost Town isn't graphic, and isn't reliant on jump scares, it uses a spooky atmosphere to create tension, which keeps you wanting to see the story through. There's one moment in Ghost Town that uses sound in the most immersive manner possible. I couldn't help but be impressed. A character shows you a magical projection by pressing your hand down on an orb, which transports you into a brand new scene. You hear the character's voice all around as he walks in and out of view, but that isn't the impressive part. It's when you remove your hand and the scene goes back to the previous room, changing how the narration sounds. At first, I thought it would have been nice to get more moments like this, but its sparseness is actually what made the moment special. But it's all of these moments combined that makes Ghost Town into the lovingly crafted game that it is. With Ghost Town on PSVR2, Fireproof Games haven't just created one of the best virtual reality games of the year, they've made a great game that stands alongside the best of the year outside of VR2. They've harnessed their years of puzzle design and virtual reality experience and combined it with a compelling narrative in a supernatural world that I hope we get to visit again. Although, whatever Fireproof Games decides to do next, I look forward to playing it. I strongly recommend playing Ghost Town on PSVR2 or any other virtual reality platform it's available on. 8.5 out of 10. If you enjoyed the review and want to see more as they release, please like and subscribe to Play, Save, Repeat. Thanks. Until next time.